Hey, yo, For Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support. If you are sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game, stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler, sign contracts, get involved in storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family and you want your name in the shoutouts, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Fro Wrestling Podcast and sign up today. We got loyalty rewards. Any $15 a month contributors get to co-host a live episode, and our $7.50 a month contributors, you get entered into a drawing to host an episode as well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you have questions, you have comments, something you want us to touch on, talk about, whatever it is, feel free to call the Fro Wrestling Sound Off line at 267-642-1160. Give us your questions, whatever it is, and we'll try to get to it in a future show as soon as possible. Don't forget to head over to the homepage of the Fro Wrestling Podcast at frowrestling.com, where you can see all of our interview series, our photo gallery, and the coolest thing we have on there is a whole host of rare wrestling matches that are hard to find, all through links on our page. Check that out. Very cool stuff. Past, present, future type things will be put on there. Some of your favorite stars in matches you may not even have realized took place. Some of the breaking news for the night: the Forgotten Sons, Steve Cutler, has apparently been released by WWE. He got the famous "We wish him all the best in his future endeavors" treatment from WWE today. There's not a lot of information about why he was let go. I mean, it looked like he was going to have a position with the whole Baron Corbin tie-in, but he is gone from WWE, and that is the breaking news for the night. In the other news for the day, today, WWE, they released their fourth quarter financial report, and their stock actually went down significantly, 4.91%, closing price down $2.75. And in the call, they talked about several things. The Peacock deal, that was a $1 billion deal for the WWE network. They talked about fans returning to live shows and getting back into touring. Vince really elaborated on that, talking about, is it going to be something where it's going to be cost effective? Can they have enough people in the stadiums to break even? So it's not, in a way hampering the business, and a lot of other topics. And it's not that there was poor reporting of results. As a matter of fact, if anything, they're more profitable than ever. But I feel like investors looked at some of the things and some of the uncertainty surrounding the COVID era that we're in and still aren't ready to really keep WWE stock on the incline. It's time right now maybe to pull back a little bit and see how things play out going forward. One of the more I'll say unusual headlines today in the world of professional wrestling: former WWE superstar Tyler-Reks. I don't know if anybody remembers, he came from the developmental system. He was actually the FCW Florida Heavyweight Champion at one point, Tag Team Champion at one point. Today, Tyler-Reks revealed that he is now, his real name was Gabe Tuft, is no longer going by Gabe Tuft. He's now Gabby Tuft, and he announced that he is a trans woman, and he'll be using the name Gabby from now on. And actually, they're going to have a whole special on Extra TV where he's going to do his gender reveal, that he has transitioned to being a female. So if you want to check that out, that'll be on Extra TV on February 5th, where you can check that out and see what Tyler-Reks, or now Gabby, has been up to. Karrion Kross in the news. Look, I don't know if you guys were watching NXT this week. You should have been. It was one of their lowest ratings in quite a while. But, man, Karrion Kross looks incredible. He knows how to cut a promo. They've got him in the program for the Cruiserweight Championship. I'm fine with that, I suppose. It's kind of weird that a guy who was NXT World Champion and lost his championship essentially because of an injury doesn't get a rematch for that championship, and he's in a feud over the Cruiserweight title. All that is really strange. But that being said, he is apparently being groomed for a main roster spot. I love the interaction with Edge when Edge was outside the Performance Center or whatever, the the Capitol Arena or whatever they call it. I thought that was good stuff. I thought it was good work. I loved what he did in the ring. And basically the report that Dave Meltzer put out is that WWE can't wait, is the quote he put, to get Kross to the main roster. And essentially all he has to do is, again, quote, get through whatever he's going through in NXT. So obviously Karrion Kross is impressing a lot of people, turning a lot of heads, and it may be only a matter of time before he's on the main roster. Paige Van Zandt, former UFC fighter, also talking in the news today about how she has visited the Performance Center. She's been in communication with WWE from time to time, and that she does have interest about going to WWE, and she feels like it's something she'd be very good at. She has a history in the past of being a dancer, and she's been in the entertainment world, and obviously as a fighter. So she's interested in a potential WWE debut. She was doing an interview with Chris Van Vliet and discussed her interest in working for WWE, and it went really, really well. The whole interview, it seemed like she's very much interested in this as being a possible opportunity. So maybe we'll see her in a ring soon. My concern here is it almost seemed like WWE will take any UFC or mixed martial arts cast off who no longer is winning and potentially bring them to WWE, and I don't want that to be the thing. You know, I want WWE to bring in top-tier athletes, and if people are willing to be a top draw and they're willing to come in and do the things necessary to be successful on the main roster, then more power to them. But if they're going to bring in every person who's on the downside of their career, it's going to develop a reputation. Speaking of UFC fighters, Ken Shamrock suspended indefinitely from Impact Wrestling. Now, in a weird way, this is kind of like it's kind of like a storyline suspension, but it really could be an indicator of whether or not he's going to be back with Impact Wrestling. Some people are actually saying this is basically his exit from the company without having to damage his character with losses that are meaningless, and that he's just going to be written off TV in this way. So we'll have to see. Ken Shamrock, I know he's interested in coming to WWE and doing some things. I don't know if there's mutual interest there or not. He is a name, and at one point he was a draw, so maybe ahead of WrestleMania they could put something together for him. Wouldn't mind seeing Ken Shamrock and Goldberg. I know people are right now are like big anti-Goldberg people, but I actually thought his match at the Rumble was pretty good for what he can do these days. And I think a match with he and Shamrock would be strange, but it would definitely be something I wouldn't mind watching. Let's be honest. There's no harm, no foul to other people. I know there's all these people talking about how they're taking somebody else's spots when you put these part-timers in at WrestleMania. Look, I'm just going to speak to that real quick. WWE is a publicly traded company. Their job is no longer to satisfy a wrestling fan. I know that may sound bizarre. They don't care what you and I think. They care about money, profitability, because if their stock tanks, so does their success. They need to get ratings, yes, to a degree, but they need to be profitable. Like today when they announced their earnings, if they're making money, nobody cares that the product blows. No one cares that they haven't had a good storyline since the original Fiend issue, okay? But seems like all the diehard fans are all up in arms over, oh, Edge won the Rumble. Of course he won the Rumble. It's a feel-good story. Vince has done this before. Think back to when Hulk Hogan returned and won the World Championship or the Unified Championship from Triple H at Backlash way back in the early 2000s, 2005 or whatever. Like, that's just what Vince does. So this didn't surprise me that, you have Edge go out and win the Rumble. But, hopefully, you can take a look at some of these other people, the Ken Shamrocks, the Goldbergs, the people like that really are the part-timers, the John Cenas. And if you're going to give them a spot, there's a reason they're doing it. Because whether any of us like it or not, when they show up, they pop the ratings. And when they pop the ratings, they always wear some new T-shirt to the ring, and it sells a whole bunch. And it's more to the bottom line. It makes WWE look more mainstream, and WWE loves that because that makes investors happy. Like I said, they don't care if you're happy. They don't care if I'm happy. They care if the investors are happy because of being a publicly traded company. That's why a company like AEW, that yes, they're trying to put out great wrestling, but they don't have to answer to as many masters. They're not a publicly traded company. They can do whatever they want, and there's really no repercussions if they put together a horrible storyline or whatever. They can go out and put on a more realistic product because they don't have to answer to parental concerns and things like that a publicly traded company could be affected by if they have a product that's not PG enough. So it's very different. People always argue WWE versus AEW. They're not the same thing. AEW is an independent company that has no master that they serve with regards to family content, the entertainment world. The mainstream press that WWE gets versus AEW is not even remotely comparable. Heck, the Superstar Spectacle in India drew 20 million viewers in India. That's astronomically higher than any television program in any professional wrestling event in history for a one-off that wasn't like a WrestleMania. So I hope people understand there's a reason they're doing what they're doing. And it's not about you and me. It's about dollar signs. That's the truth. That's what it's all about. Shawn Stasiak in the news, he's upset, and I don't know if you even remember who Shawn Stasiak is, but his dad was Stan the Man Stasiak, who was like a transitional champion, take the champion off one guy, get it to another back in the 70s, and he was out complaining because he wasn't invited for his father's Hall of Fame induction in WWE. I don't know why I'm even giving this 30 seconds of thought. I mean, his father went into the Hall of Fame years ago, and he's still crying about it. Like, dude, get over it. Just move on. Vince McMahon didn't see the need to invite him. Maybe he didn't leave WWE on the best terms. I don't know. But what I know is that it's all these years later, and these people, it's almost like they come up with a reason to get angry to remain relevant. And that blows my mind. Speaking of the price and sales of merchandise and WWE wanting to be the money bag driver, the biggest selling product so far of 2021 has been the Bad Bunny WWE shop merchandise. Absolutely crazy. They announced that today on the call. And the current lineup, it has a $30 poster, an 8x24 poster, a $25 youth t-shirt, $28 women's t-shirt, a $28 unisex t-shirt, and a $40 full zip hoodie. That's what they have on for Bad Bunny coming out and making a couple appearances. Now, my understanding is he is training for an in-ring appearance. He's at the Performance Center getting prepared for that. I think that's a horrible idea, but if he's somebody who really cares about doing it for real, more power to him. Why not? If I got to sit there and watch Oldberg go against Drew McIntyre, which I know I was just saying how there's a reason they do that, but now I'm going back into my fan mode. I didn't want to see Goldberg challenge Drew, but whatever. If I have to see that, I'd much rather see a young guy who's trying to make a legitimate go of something than some old guy who can't really move that much anymore. Like, let's be honest, Goldberg has like a spear or a jackhammer. That's it. He doesn't really do anything else. And a fist punch. Whoop-de-doo. If Goldberg was Goldberg from way back in the late 90s, where he was still doing like the ankle takedowns and the muscle over suplexes and things like that, I might actually not have a problem with him. Edge, totally different feel. Edge came back. He is legitimately working. Apparently the word is he wants to put in the time and be a full-time participant on the road to WrestleMania. And that is music to my ears. I don't care how old he is. The guy can still go. And the fact that he entered at 1 and wins the Royal Rumble, and that, of course, that's booking. But he had the stamina to pull it off, and he looked confident pulling it off, and he looked good pulling it off. He didn't look like a part-timer. He looked like he really was a regular participant. So people need to get over it. People pop and go crazy when Sting walks out on AEW, even though it's been the same appearance for the last 3 months. Whereas Edge comes out and wins Royal Rumble, people are losing their mind. At least he got in the ring and did something. The return of Christian was awesome. I almost was choked up watching it because I'm thrilled that these guys who thought their careers were over because of CTE issues and other neck spinal issues are starting to find ways to come back. Daniel Bryan coming back after retiring. Edge, now Christian, other people, Kurt Angle, things like that. That's awesome. So it speaks volumes to medical science and the progress that certain areas have made. So good for them. And you know what? If they take a main event spot at WrestleMania, I guess the newer, younger guys, I saw what Mustafa Ali said online. Oh, these hardworking and all this other stuff. Hey, here's the deal, dude. Again, it's WWE. It's about money. Put butts in, as JR used to say, put butts in seats. That's what gets you the main event spot. It doesn't matter. You could be the best wrestler in the world. If you can't put people in seats, you're not a main event star. I would argue Cesaro is one of the most talented wrestlers in the history of life. But he's not in the main event. Why? His personality does not draw in enough people to make him world champion. It just doesn't. If they made Big E, I'd be okay with that. I think his show did great, popping over 3.8 or whatever it was million viewers when he won the Intercontinental title. That should send a signal to somebody in WWE that Big E might be the person you want to go with. But at the time it is right now, you got to bring in part-timers. Otherwise, you're not moving the needle. You're not increasing viewership. You're not getting eyes on the product, and that equals dollars in revenue, and that equals a higher stock price. That's what WWE cares about. Last thing for tonight, Devon Dudley. He is apparently recovering from a stroke. He recently had a stroke, and He's doing much better now. He put out a conversation on Table Talk podcast this week where he said, I'm doing all right. I'm getting stronger and stronger each day. I was denying it and wasn't saying anything before, but I'll let it out now. I had a stroke and now I'm doing so much better. I'm back to my normal self almost. Well, here at the Pro Wrestling Podcast, we just want to send out our well wishes and get well soon wishes for Devon. What a classy guy. I can tell you, I met him at the Philadelphia International Airport at the Marriott Hotel one time, and he was just such a class act. So I wish him nothing but a speedy recovery. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check back with us next episode where we'll run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Special thanks, as always, goes out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for producing any music or sound we use in our show. Today's podcast sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bringing a new friend to family game night is easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game from Beazle Games by going to frowrestling.com and clicking the icon in the middle of the screen to pick up your copy today. And to alleyrepair.com. Contact Alley Repair today for servicing of all your classic skee-ball, pinball, and arcade game needs. If you're looking for your next career move and you're considering college, university life, or you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, and for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Mr. Fro. I want to thank you for taking a few moments with us today. And if you're looking for more wrestling news and rumors, go to www.tsj101sports.com for their articles on the world of wrestling, or check out my blog, In Fro's Corner, at frowrestling.com. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night.